Hello, Deep Mindfulness Collective. My name is Janos, and this is the Joy of Being AliveStream. Thank you for letting me know. There is an exciting thing happening, which is we finally have themes and a calendar. So we are going to be we're going to continue our experience of seeing today. We're going to still be visually observing our environment using our eyes. And we're going to move forward into practice around mental seeing, see in, if you're familiar. So that's exciting for me because knowing what we're going to do by day is going to be fun. And what that's going to mean is then next Monday, we're going to have a week from today, we're going to have Michael Taft with us, and we're still discussing what topics we're going to go into, what we're going to discuss. But if you have ideas, please let us know. We would love to hear your thoughts on what you would like to have us talk about. Let us know if you're here. Let us know in the chat where you're coming from. For some reason, everything before where Deborah said no sound is not available for me. So if you already said where you're coming from, let me know. Okay, I'm coming from Brooklyn. Hi. From? Well, that's not the spelling of Brooklyn. Okay, this is how I spelled it. I'm just putting it in there. Hi, Lewis. Yeah, that's how my hand was on the wrong button, so that's how Brooklyn looks. Anyway, that's my version of Brooklyn. That's how we really do it here. In Brooklyn, we use different words. It's very cool. Sounds like something in the Netherlands. Yeah, exactly. That's, it's really old school. So, it's going to be fun. So today we're going to be practicing, similarly, we're going to be doing about a 25-minute practice, and then we're going to have time for Q&A, these kind of things, have fun, connect. I hadn't prepared a video to watch, but people have been saying they really like the video experience. So let me know if you'd like, and we can find something today to watch. It'll be a little impromptu, but that's always fun. I have lots of things that I think about, so that one of those things could be what we dive into. And as we're getting started, make sure to say hello in the chat. This is the friendliest chat on the internet. We're talking about ways to potentially expand what we're doing. One of the things we're thinking about doing is changing our chat over to something called Discord. So I just want to warn people there's a possibility. I don't want to freak anyone out. But Discord is just a way more robust way to chat. This is basically one chat room and everyone is live. Discord has a number of chat rooms, and not only can you choose which chat room shows up, I can make it so the chat room shows up on the video screen itself in a way that's visible. We tried this before and it wasn't visible. And then also we can have voice, which would mean people could actually talk and we could connect and I could hear what they're saying, which would be pretty significant if we want to actually use that as a way to communicate with people and difficulties that they're having, that kind of thing. Also wanted to say that if folks are interested, especially folks who've been here for some time, if you have an interest in coming on the show itself, being a guest, talking a little bit about your practice and doing a little Dharma diagnosis, then we can let me know and drop me a message, and it would be good to connect. I think we're going to have Ralph as a guest at some point, so that's going to be delightful. So Michael Taft will be here Monday. We're going to be doing seeing until then and a little bit after then. Hello from Ireland. Bob, good to see you. The practice around seeing is going to be relevant probably because we're probably going to be talking about formless jhanas with Michael Taft. So we're going to be getting into some of the mental seeing experience and then getting into the formless material. That'll be fun. So it's so great to have folks here. It's such a warm, delightful way to see everybody and connect and getting to know people. It's one of those things where now if I meet any of you folks in person, which I know some of you folks in person, it'll be like, hey, how are you? There's just a sense of the bond developing. I think I've mentioned this before, that Rakhel and I focus a lot on the bond as the object of meditation. How strong is the experience of our bond? And of course, bonds are, any relationship is built out of rupture and repair. So we're always noticing, okay, it's a little weaker right now. Let's try to strengthen that up. But just noticing for me that I'm noticing that there's a bond developing here with us. So it's fun. Okay, so we'll do a little bit of practice, and then we'll do maybe a little bit of exploration on videos, because people have been enjoying that. And yeah, settle in, find a nice comfortable position that you can be relatively still in. We're going to practice in stillness as a way of stilling the mind. Oh, and I did not mention this. Excuse me, I'm going to mute myself and blow my nose off. Okay, pardon me. I probably shouldn't have said what I was doing. I said, oh, just hold on a second. Something that is worth mentioning is that the way that we support this program, I think most people here know, is through super chats. Another way is simply by sharing the feed. So if anyone feels like throwing some support, that's lovely. There's a little sign in your chat. You can give a donation, and the first person to get a donation gets triple high fives in the camera. And the last person who gives a donation gets to be my co-host. So actually, I think it was Lewis who gave the final donation, but wanted to stick Ralph with the obligation of being the co-host. So Ralph is being our spiritual guide, our animal guide. In this case, the animal is in the form of a plant. So finding a nice... is it okay for... Oh, yeah. Lewis wants to know if it's okay if Ralph's doing a good job co-hosting now that Lewis stuck Ralph with the duties of being the co-host. So if you give the final super chat, you get to be the co-host for the next day, and you can actually stick other people with the job. We haven't decided yet what we're going to do if somebody decides to put some kind of political message on there, but likelihood is we'll probably nix that. This is definitely not a politics-free zone, but we're gonna, whatever it is, we'll handle it as skillfully as possible. Okay, so finding a nice position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. And when you're ready, just gently closing the eyes. Beginning by taking a few comfortable deep breaths. Just feeling the body rise and fall. We'll begin by sweeping through the body to be sure we're not holding any undue tension. So starting at the top of the head, relax the brow, relax the eyes. Allow the face to go smooth. Relax the tongue and let the jaw go slack. Relax the neck and the shoulders. The upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, and tuning into the subtle sensations in the palms of the hands and tips of the fingers. Letting go of any attempt to control the breath, just letting the body breathe as it will. Noticing the natural tightening and relaxing of the upper chest and upper back as the breath comes and goes. Relaxing the belly and the lower back. Relaxing the hips and the upper legs. Relaxing the knees and calves. Relaxing the Achilles, the ankles, and relaxing the feet. And tuning into the sensation of relaxation throughout the entire body. Seeing if we can hold all of the body's sensations as though it were in our periphery, holding them all together. And in this pool of restful material, gently allowing a small percentage of awareness to become focused on the sensations of the breath. Not letting all of awareness collapse down, just a percentage. And you can pick how much of a percentage based on if you can stay with the sensations of the breath without being pulled away. So too much attention, too much zooming in will cause agitation, make it hard to stay, and too much zooming out will just allow us to lose detection of these detailed sensations. So finding a balance between zooming in and out. Holding the sensations of the breath delicately among the sensations of the entire body. You may find it helpful to use a breath counting strategy if the detail of the breath keeps slipping away. So simply counting 1 before the next in-breath, staying close to the sensations of the breath, and at the end of the next in-breath, counting 2, up to 10, and then backwards down from 9 to 1. Letting the counting be just a small percentage, and allowing the sensations of the breath to fill our awareness richly. And of course, at times, awareness will drift away, or perhaps we just become a little bit dull. So bringing ourselves back to the vivid qualities of the breath. Now making a slight shift, bringing some awareness to the darkness of closed eyes, seeing if we can get a clear assessment of the experience of seeing this moment, even though it's dark. I'm going to encourage you to allow a tiny bit of light to enter the eyelids. Noticing that the mind is drawn to the brightness. But seeing if you can also notice the experience of all of the darkness above, the part of the eyes that are still closed. So despite the fact that there's a little light entering in at the bottom, seeing if you can see the entire visual field, despite some of it being obscured by our eyelids. And still holding the entire visual field, allowing a tiny bit more light to enter the eyelids. Readjusting if the mind is drawn to the new bright areas. Being sure to include all of the visual field even though it might be dark. Perhaps noticing how fuzzy half-opened eyes are. Looking at this fuzziness all over. And continuing in this way, allowing a tiny bit of light to enter the eyes, adjusting so we're looking at the entire visual field. And eventually, not right away, but over time, finding a single point that we can fix our eyes on. Ideally, that's not text, that's not a screen. And eventually allowing the eyes to fully open. Just taking our time. Noticing that when our eyes open, often the mind becomes a little giddy, energetic, wants to explore, and it can be more challenging to keep ourselves on track. So we're going to anchor our attention on this single point. And we're going to explore that point, looking at it in close detail. And there's a way that this can feel a bit tiring. It's a lot of effort to stay with one small thing. So still allowing the eyes to stay on this point. Letting go of that effort and letting visual awareness open to include the entire visual field. And you may notice that the mind can oscillate between the point and the larger open awareness. This is in part because it's the momentum of the previous task. So seeing if you can experience that point as something floating in the larger pool of seeing. Letting the entire visual space be a kind of ocean, and seeing this point in context of that ocean. Noticing this balance between the two. Sometimes we're pulled in. Sometimes awareness flows out to hold the entire visual space. And sometimes the two balance and are experienced together. Looking for this balance. Even if it's only occasional. Now allowing awareness to explore. Again, keeping the eyes fixed on this point, but looking at all the details you can detect in the visual field without even turning the eyes in this direction. And I'm going to invite you to allow the gaze to shift to another point. Notice what it's like to see something new, what the system does. Seeing if you can continue the same game we were playing before, either focusing in the middle, focusing on the whole, the relationship between the whole, or maybe allowing awareness to explore as the eyes are fixed on this new point. Whatever's fascinating. And if you like, you could allow your vision to move, even allowing the head to move fluidly, not fixing on any point. Just letting the seeing experience be at the foreground. Sometimes the mind zooms in, sometimes it zooms out. Sometimes it's both. Without any effort on our part, just observing this dance. So we'll end the formal practice when the bell goes silent. But for now, simply exploring the luxury, the decadence of human seeing. The way this living experience expresses itself. Okay. So here we are, still seeing. Feel free to keep as much of your conscious attention on your experience of seeing as we move forward. I've recently been trying to be a little more technical with the terms attention and awareness. Some of you are familiar with the Mind Illuminated material. So I'm trying to be a bit more intentional around that. And it becomes challenging because we also use those words to just mean effectively our consciousness, the real estate of consciousness. So sometimes it's a little strange to navigate how to just speak vernacularly. So allowing some of our consciousness to be connected with this conversation and potentially having a percentage of the consciousness allocated to the experience of seeing. Okay, so what was that like? What came up for folks? What were the challenges? Was your meditation overly restful, sleepy, foggy, that kind of thing? Overly wakeful, agitated, the body moving around a lot, that kind of thing? What came up for folks? What was that like? I see Bob saying that there's some stream challenges. Bob says it's buffering here too. I'm looking at the stream health and it says it's good. So I don't know if that means anything. So wonderful. Let me know if everything is working out. Maybe the stream is just fully dead for everyone but me. That's always my big fear that I will, and my mouse stopped working. that I'll do the entire meditation and everyone will be confused as heck because I'll be like, what's going on? It's frozen. So let me know if everything's working. Not a problem. Bit restless here. Not a problem now. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. Lewis says, a bit restless here and a neck ache, but I like working with vision and trying to make it panoramic. Yeah, there's actually in the Chuladasa book, if anyone's read it, but he talks about peripheral awareness as this term to refer to awareness actually in general, which is he's later kind of backtracked and said, okay, let's not call it peripheral awareness, let's just call it awareness. And it doesn't have to be in the periphery. That's sort of part of the problem. So either way, the panorama is one sort of surefire route to move us towards a connection with awareness. See right there, I wanted to say awareness of awareness. So connection with the awareness process. Okay, so what else came up for folks? Any challenges, difficulties, anything fun or funny? And this is very impromptu, so this might not work out, but any particular videos we should check out? Anything on the internet? I'll search Spiritual Awakening. How about that? We can just have a video watching party. Oh, have we watched Teal Swan yet? Have we watched Teal Swan? I can't remember. I've been watching some of it recently. Have folks watched that? Okay, I'm going to pull this up because this is something else. Okay, I gotta. You've intentionally not watched it today. Okay, well, unfortunately, I'm going to break the mold here. Vision is interesting, Bob says, but I have. But if I have to open my eyes that are not softened, it ignites inner talk. Interesting. And so that's one of the things that makes see out meditation very difficult is that when the eyes are open, all of this material, it's like there's so much energy occurring. So it can just be a matter of how much energy do we either counteract that with, and we have to try for ourselves what's needed. Do we really put a lot of attention into staying with it, or is it more of a case where we actually need to relax and hang out with the experience? But adjusting, maybe more labeling would help, using the C label, noticing that occurs. Just noticing that occurs, especially if it's a pull towards unconsciousness, which distraction and being pulled away is. Just noticing it will actually break down unconsciousness. Consciousness and unconsciousness can't survive in the same room, basically. And so there's that, but also maybe a lot of inner talk gets activated, and that's fine. You just leave that in the background and then stay with the visual experience. So I wanted to play us a little Teal Swan because it's so impressively, boy, what is it? It's something. It's anyone who has any challenges with the mystical schmystical, this is like the ultimate, this is kind of the ultimate. So, okay, I'm trying to upload this window here, screen capture. I can't configure this sucker. Here we go, configure. Okay, so I'm opening the window so we can actually see it together, and hopefully we can hear it together. We might have the same sound issue that we had before, but let's see. Okay, here we go. This, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to inform you, is the infamous Teal Swan. You can't heal yourself out of desire. That sounds pretty reasonable. Depression. Okay, it looks like she's giving people advice on depression. A little scary, but let's see how this goes. What is shadow work? Well, let's not get into that. Karma. Does it exist? Which of these seems like let's go to her channel and see the most popular videos. 489 videos. I'm jealous of that. I want 489 videos. I jokingly Teal School. Wait, I'm missing a word here. Bob says Teal Swan is a car crash of 21st century spirituality. Yeah, it kind of is. Okay, so let's go back here to see what we're seeing. I want to go to our videos and most popular and see what we find. Okay. How to activate and open your third eye. It's already like, I can't, the ones I can't play because I'm like, well, maybe she's making a good point and I want to sort of, connect with the sillier side, but then I'm like, third eye, I can't, it's too weird. How to raise your frequency and increase your vibrance. I'm just going to go with energy healing. Because I've had some experiences with energy that I'm like, hey, F the law of attraction. I can kind of, I can maybe get with that. All right, maybe I'm becoming a convert here. Yeah. How to discover what you want. Okay, these two videos are right next to each other. F the law of attraction. How to discover what you want. These are long videos. Okay. I'm choosing difficulty. The divine feminine. The thing is, these sound like great topics. So let's just pick one. How to discover what you want. Okay, can folks hear this, or is it inaudible? Okay, it looks like it's audible. This music's really doing it for me. I'll just say that right away. I missed the first part because I couldn't hear the audio. So hopefully it was really good. I'm assuming the first section is going to talk about how wanting is really, really a dangerous weapon. I'm sure it's going to go right there. Oh yeah, gotta have those wind chimes. Me too.
Today we're going to talk about how to discover what you want. Your desires are responsible not only for your expansion, but for the expansion of this universe.
Nice.
You are coming to preferences all day, every day. For most of you, this is a subconscious process. But those people who enjoy the most happiness in this life make this...
All right here. Okay. This I want to know. The people who enjoy the most happiness are...
subconscious process a conscious one.
They make the subconscious process of wanting a conscious one. Okay. I don't know what that means, but we're going to move forward.
The people who get what they want take the time to figure out what they want first.
I can kind of buy that, potentially. All right. I feel like I'm failing on my teal swan exploration here. Part of it is that the production is so insane on some of these that it's like, it's something else. Let's watch this trailer. How about that? Oh no, I lost the image.
Welcome to your physical life.
Yes.
Even though you don't remember it, before you came here, you had specific intentions for what you wanted to experience.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Oh no, did we lose the image? Okay, let me fix the image, folks. Sorry about that. Configure. Yeah, went full screen. Blew it, folks. Okay. Here we go. So this is the kind of thing I'm talking. I just want to rewind this a little bit because you got to see it. You got to see the visuals.
Welcome to your physical life. Even though you don't remember it, before you came here, you had specific intentions for what you wanted to experience.
See, this is the perfect, this is part of why I actually got into video, was that I felt like people can make these like highly produced videos that, I don't want to say they lead nowhere, because someone must be finding this helpful, because otherwise they wouldn't be connecting with this person. But to me, there's a huge experience of feeling like they're very vapid in this way. So I thought, wow, what if we could do really beautiful things, which is something I like to do, and make it really useful and make it really pragmatic. So I love this. There's a planet, and this exploration of life and birth. And before you came here, you had certain intentions about the things you wanted to do. Like ride a dirt bike. It's just, I don't know, it's great. It's great. It's great.
In this life.
I wish the video just ended there. It's like you had certain intentions you wanted to do in your life, and then just became a video just about like how awesome dirt bikes are. Okay.
Some of you wanted to taste of true love. Some of you to feel true freedom. Some of you wanted a simple life.
Some of you were all white kids.
Or it's the little things that matter. You chose the perfect family and the perfect initial experience for this intention you set for this life.
And just so we know, we're not going to bring this up, but the perfect family is definitely all white. And we're just going to let that slide.
You knew all the potentials that would come from choosing those parents, that neighborhood, that culture, that place and that time.
So I chose all of my circumstances, which works for people who don't have a life that's crippled by a society that is incredibly unfair. And so the people who, it's this funny thing where I wonder this about the law of attraction material, where I wonder if it's this thing where it actually does work for people who have a significant amount of leverage around their privilege, and that they can actually do these things in a certain way, and they can manifest these things, but more than just they happen to have privilege, that they happen to have privilege and this actually works if they really direct their intention in a certain way. It can really work for them and create a kind of momentum of life. But then I wonder about this this thing of what do you do if that's just not your circumstance in any way? I live a relatively charmed life. I grew up I think we're below I don't know if we're below the poverty line, but we were definitely, pretty poor, and grew up in Rhode Island on this little hippie farm, and it wasn't big, but we, made our own food sometimes. We also interacted with markets, that kind of thing. And, it was still relatively privileged, given the circumstances of a lot of people. And there were so many times in my life where I sort of just waltzed through being like, oh, I can do this. Like, yeah, this sort of, casual confidence, just like, yeah, sure, I can do this. Sort of not realizing that my life would be so dramatically different in that kind of like casual confidence. Like, yeah, I could walk into a store and like mouth off. I was a pretty mouthy teen, and no big deal, whatever, that's not a problem. And that's just completely not the experience. I mean, I used to, when I was a little kid, I used to steal stuff from a convenience store, and you hear about the Mike Brown in Ferguson, and he stole a pack of cigarettes, and it's like, okay, I'm getting heavy here. So let's get back to the relief. I just want some teal in my life. All right, here we go. Give it to me, teal. I need the juice.
When you saw that perfect potential, You took it. You took it because you knew it would be the exact conditions necessary for your own personal expansion.
I love this: street acrobatics, breakdancing. I'm harping on this, but all things white people can do beautifully. It's like, okay, maybe the irony's just me, but we even have graffiti in the background. This is just teal. We love you.
And there is no difference between your personal expansion and the universe's expansion. When you expand, the universe expands. When you learn, the universe learns.
So yeah, I want to actually agree with that in maybe a different way, in a more literal, pragmatic way. When I went to Asia, one of the times I went to Asia, I got introduced to this idea of merit. I had heard the idea of merit as a thing that you could have contact with, but I hadn't really thought of it as a specific thing, as like an entity, as something you could actually trade with. And the idea of merit in a Buddhist country, in Buddhism in general, is this idea of, it's almost like a goodwill in the form of capital. Like you can gain it, you can give it away, and it has all sorts of interesting rules. Like the more you give it away, the more you can get it. But you can literally, like we just meditated for a little while. And what that means is we gained merit through doing something, skillful. And we can actually give that merit to a specific person, I think living or dead. And so we can actually, I'm going to give 3% of that's a little stingy. I'm going to give 50% of the merit that I developed during that meditation to Teal Swan right now. I dedicate that merit to you. And it's interesting in that way, they actually consider it that way, that it's a tradable good. When I was there, I stumbled on this, or I sort of started noticing it because I was in taxi cabs, and I noticed that I would say what I was doing. I'm there for a month-long silent retreat, and the taxi cab drivers would say, "Oh, thank you," and I'd say, "Oh, sure." And I just thought it was sort of a passing. People say phrases, and there's translation, this kind of thing. But what I discovered was they were really saying thank you for going to this retreat, because you're actually developing merit for me. Because anytime a person develops merit, they develop merit for the people around them as well. So they were literally thanking me. "Oh, thank you for doing this meritorious action, because it's good for everybody." We don't really have anything like that in our world, in our culture, but there is something really powerful about that if I do something that's positive, if I do something that's kind and caring, that has an effect on other people. Now, the effect might be if I do something very kind to someone, or even minimally kind to someone, just pay them basic respect. And when I see homeless people in New York, if I don't have money, or if I can't give any money, I try to just make eye contact and say, "I'm sorry, I don't have anything." And they're like often stoked, because people just ignore them completely. So even that little thing is going to transfer some degree of connection, some degree of something positive for that person, and that will be in some even smaller degree transferred to the next person they have contact with, and the next person, and the next person. And that's the idea that each thing we do individually is actually affecting the world in a literal sense, but also that there's no real difference between internal growth and external sort of change. I wouldn't say it's growth, though, because it seems to imply that it's going in one direction, like a positive direction. So there we go. That's that's my little rant on that. Let's keep going here with Teal. I just love the music. Teal, you're really, the feels. I love it. Oots, oots.
Every perspective that is held by any being is adding to the expansion of source consciousness.
Any perspective that is held by any being is adding to the, what'd she say, the what of source consciousness? I'd love to hear a definition of this term, source consciousness, but let's hear it.
Perspective that is held by any being is adding to the expansion of source consciousness.
Any perspective that is held by any being is adding to the perspective of source consciousness. I just want to look something else up here. Let's see if this window will still appear if I add a tab. Okay, great, I'm adding a tab. What is it, Deepak? D-E... Okay, Deepak Chopra quote generator. Oh, we should take the quiz. Each of us is the reflection of humble reality. Somebody made this quote generator in order to show that Deepak Chopra's quotes are like super insane. So each of these quotes is totally made up, and it's just a random set of words. It's completely fake. These are not real quotes. So let's receive more wisdom here. I'll click this. True faith requires boundless chaos. It's so funny because these are so sort of ridiculous. That statement that Teal Swan made, that, every moment of consciousness expands the universal consciousness. I mean, sure, maybe. It's one of those things where you could argue in one direction. Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely true. I'm sure you could come up with a good argument. But does it really help us clarify our reality? I mean, maybe. Maybe it does. I mean, I'm sure it must for some people, but I find it just the level of mysticism. I want one more piece of wisdom before we transition back to Teal. Your heart is inside your own love. Oh, God, the possibilities of different things that could mean. Who knows? It really could be. And there's even this has a quiz where you can figure out, is this Deepak or is this just a randomly generated thing? Here's the first one. Your body exists as a progressive expansion of photons. let's say it's real. Wait, was I right? Oh, I think you have to do several of them. I'm not doing several. You can take the quiz yourself. Okay, I'm going to jump back to Teal here, and I see there's a bunch of activity in the chat. I just want to finish. I just want to move forward with this video. I just want to one run. Let's do it. Okay, so we're expanding our consciousness through being conscious. All consciousness through being conscious. Got it.
It doesn't matter whether that perspective is coming from a bird, a dog, a plant, a neighbor, a friend, an enemy. It is all adding to this universal picture, which is Source trying to see itself.
All consciousness together is Source. Okay, I'm sort of following, and it is trying to express itself. Yeah, here's the thing is that this is just me, I feel like it's all of it is this expression, like we talk about expansion, contraction, like all of it is an expression. And I think maybe this is a little what I'm trying to get at when I talk about the life material, that actually what we're experiencing is an expression of life. And for me, that's much more accessible because it's sort of literally true. Our sense organs are an expression of this force that's living. Although someone pointed out recently, I think it might have been Deb, that there's not such a huge difference between living things and non-living things, or I forget which religion or belief system tends to believe that there's not such a big distance. Maybe it's Japanese, talking about the animism of all things. Maybe Japanese culture potentially. But so, I think that life is expressing itself currently in the form of a human voice, and the understanding that's occurring as you're hearing these words is the form that life can take when it has billions of years of time to develop. So that's sort of my take on a similar idea.
Universal consciousness, which your soul is a part of, designed this reality as a kind of computer program. This program adheres to certain rules like gravity, the speed of light, and sound.
So this goes back to this idea, I'm just jamming on these tunes. This goes back to this idea that I don't want to stop, man. Till you got me going. Yeah. This idea that consciousness is creating the physical world outside of, I don't want to say outside of consciousness. Can't actually have contact with anything outside of consciousness, but there's always this conflict between this idea of, okay, it's a really thin line to shave, and I really think that I would hope people could understand this, is that it is true we cannot experience anything outside of the senses. There is no experience of the universe, ourselves, our sense of the past, any of this outside of the experience of senses, as long as we're including mental seeing, mental audio, emotion as sense experiences. Awareness as something that's a movement between any of these particular sense gates, but awareness is never really free of any form. It's typically, it's sort of universally experienced as related to our senses. So this idea, so there's that, but then there's this idea that all there is my mind creating the world. And I have friends who've said that before, and then they were, attacked, and it's sort of like, what happened to that? This idea that I'm creating the world. And I've had people say to me, like, I'm creating you. You're not here. You're a figment of my imagination. And it's like, if it weren't so solipsistic, it would be more offensive. But it's just like, okay, I don't even know what to tell you about that. I'm going to go eat a sandwich because this creation you created, is hungry. So I feel like there's always this thin line between, like, we create the universe and we can't experience the universe outside of our mind.
But the ultimate rule of this universe is called the law of mirroring. This rule means that life on Earth is experienced as a kind of mirror hologram.
Okay, here we go. This is the T. Do people know the T meme? All right, I won't get into it too much, too fast. I don't want to blow anyone's mind. Okay, so where this world is a mirror, and my guess is it's a mirror of something better. This is where we're getting back into this sort of Platonic ideal thing. Let's go. Let's hear it, Teal. Give it to me.
Where everything that is within you reflects in your external life.
Okay, this is sort of an expansion of the law of attraction thing, that whatever's happening inside of you reflects on your external life. That's not very controversial. That's basically called psychology. But let's see if this maybe goes beyond the fact that our internal workings actually shape the way we live in the world and our experiences. What's the term Rakhel was saying recently? And I don't think it's projection. Schema. That, for instance, if someone feels like they never get what they want. I was interacting with someone recently who always tends to telegraph that they never get what they want. And I noticed that they would do things and say things that would make people finally be like, yeah, I mean, I said yes a moment ago, but actually, not so much. Now that you mention it 5 times in a row, we're actually going to say no. And they're like, I knew it all along. And my thought is like, why didn't you stop at the first question? They said yes. So yes, that's called psychology. Now let's find out from Teal what this is, if it's more than psychology. And I'll spoiler alert, I have a feeling it just might be. Give it to me.
This means you can manifest anything you like, whether it's a car, money, a lover.
I love that. I love it. It starts with a car. It's like you can manifest anything you want. Now forget about the untold suffering of all those migrant children in cages. Forget about all the people who aren't even allowed to exist in certain parts of the country and the world. Forget all the people dying and suffering. Forget all this stuff. Remember the dirt bike? If you work hard, I mean really, really hard at your minimum wage job, and don't feed your kids, and maybe steal a little bit, you too can manifest the $3,000 for an awesome Kawasaki. This commercial turns back into a thing for dirt bikes. That's please deal. I'm begging you, give me the dirt bike commercial. I want the commercial. Okay. All right, Teal, I'm ready. I'm ready here. Give it to me.
A state of health, a state of peace.
Yes. Oh, the health. Thank you. I was really concerned. My friend is experiencing stage 4 cancer, and I just had to believe. Thank you, Teal. Such confusion. Really, this noggin. The wisdom.
By first experiencing it in your internal world, in your thoughts and your emotions.
Okay, my thoughts are free of stage 4 cancer. So therefore, come on, it just hurts, man. Come on, you're killing me. How are we supposed to help people? How are we supposed to teach people tools that'll actually affect and improve their lives when, it makes me mad. How incredibly self-denying this philosophy is. How, I have pain, I have suffering, I have difficulty. Now, we don't have to focus on those things in order to compound them, and that's a really good skill to learn, is to not compound the experience of our pain into suffering. But oh man, I'm sick, or I'm aging. Oh God, I just need to manifest harder. I just really need to work at this. And it's just this thing where the proof is in the pudding. Well, I can do it, so why can't you do it? And it's like, well, it's possible that you have some advantages that other people don't have. Anyway, I've said that already, but it kills me a little bit, because people tend to sort of hate themselves, and to give them a philosophy that says you just have to work harder internally, not to develop your confidence, or to get rid of old unconscious habits that were potentially hindering you, to heal maladaptive attachment strategies that are causing you to get into relationships that mimic the ones that the worst case scenarios that you've had in your life. Not really straightforward material that people can actually approach and talk to a professional about. But this stuff that's magical, and it kind of kills me a little, because I want to talk from a magical position. I have this magical backdrop behind me. Maybe I should just go in that direction. It's just anyway. I also want to be kind. I'm sure she helps people. She's probably a really sweet person. She likely did not get into this just to make a lot of dough. And honestly, if she's helping, I don't know, maybe it's okay. I don't know. We'll keep going. Hit me, Teal.
This knowledge about the way that the universe really works is the key to living the life that you've always wanted.
Oh, yes, the dirt bikes, please. I just want to see that again. Give me the dirt bikes.
That the universe really works is the key to living the life that you've always wanted.
Kawasaki.
The truth is, you're not powerless.
Our first black person.
If you're afraid of someone leaving you.
Of course. Of course, they're slam dunking, right? That's what they do.
Find the aspect within you that
White
leaves
people dance. Black people slam dunk.
If you're afraid of being manipulated by other people, find the part of you that manipulates other people.
Okay, I could get a little bit into that idea. If you manipulate other people, find the part of you, or you're afraid of being manipulated, find the part of you that's manipulating. I can kind of get down with that. If that's like how far we're going, we're not getting into the mystical stuff, I can get down with that because, when I was younger, I would lie all the time, and I just, it's no big deal. As long as people don't know, I've heard of that band. Yeah, sure. Like minor league lying. And the thing is that I didn't trust the world. I thought the world was an untrustworthy place, and it changed really dramatically when I really, really made an effort to not lie, to do my best to not lie. And the thing is that sometimes I'm shocked now. I'm like, wait, how is this possible? They said they were here, but then I saw them over here. I was like, I'm so confused. I was like, they could be lying. And I realized people lie all the time, but it's confusing to me because why would you do that? It's so internally disruptive, and it feels so yucky, and anyway, so that I can kind of get down with. So me and Teal, we're actually on the same page. Forget everything I've said so far. We're in 100% agreement.
If you're afraid of terrorism, find the terrorist in you.
Well, I think practically, if you're afraid of terrorism, you should maybe look at some statistics, because the likelihood that you're going to be, attacked by a terrorist is probably lower than the possibility of a tree falling on you randomly. So that would be more my advice. And imagine someone who has maybe a psychological experience that they feel very threatened by the world. They feel, I'm a little threatened by the world. Oh, what should I do? I should look for the way that I'm threatening the world. It's like that's sort of the opposite of what you'd need. I think the first recognition would be to recognize the system that you're operating in isn't responding to the world in an appropriate way. It isn't responding to the world in a way that is in line with what's actually occurring, which, of course, you're probably going to need some outside input, friends, community, that kind of thing, in order to have that feedback. Hey, I'm responding to this in a way that isn't actually what's happening. And then from there, to try to learn tools to calm the system when that arises and know that the system can have a certain response that has nothing to do with the environment. It just is maybe trying to survive when it doesn't need to be. This seems all very geared towards people who have no experience with either trauma or developmental trauma, but I have a feeling she's got some videos on what to do about your trauma.
Your compassionate attention will allow a transformation to take place, the very transformation that we have been waiting for centuries.
Okay, I can also kind of get behind that. Compassionate attention will help you experience a transformation. I think compassionate attention of the difficulty and of the pain and of the challenges of our experience, allowing those parts to exist, maybe that's what she's talking about later on with shadow work, allowing those things to exist makes it possible to basically break that material down and allow it to be a kind of fully integrated person with my fears, with my, the parts of myself I want to not represent, the parts of myself that can't, stand on a bike, motorcycle, please be a dirt bike, stand on a dirt bike with a fur coat and an American flag helmet and ride on the seat. The part of me that can't do that, I don't want to represent that way. I want to be this dude. Come on.
This will be an end to
loss. Oh,
loss.
Snap. No hands, too.
This
that
will
is
be an
terrifying.
End to manipulation.
Hopefully that
This will be an end to terrorism.
Okay, here's my hope. This dude is on he's not riding the motorcycle. It's on a flatbed truck. That's my guess. He would have to be very, very good at this for that to be possible, and it makes me extremely nervous. I'm just concerned for his safety. At this point, I'm like his mom. I want to make him a sandwich. Teal, give this guy, cut the edges off his sandwich, send him home. Okay, what do we got here?
This will be the end to suffering on this earth.
Yeah, there's no way.
This will
really?
be the time that you've accepted the parts
That
of you
is
that you've
impressive. I think
denied
that was real.
for years.
Yes, dance it out, people. I like it. Dancing is a great form of spiritual exploration.
I hope that this message was able to remind you of what you already knew.
Teal, I'm sorry. I think we can't hear you through all of that intergalactic space. Could you just go back and repeat that? Because I have a hard time.
I hope that this message was able to remind you of what...
What's wrong with her voice? It made sense before when you were like in space as a narrator from behind, and now you're like, I hope this echo chamber thing. It's like so insane. Like people are drawn to this. Like, oh, this really works for me. I mean, I guess I don't want to make fun of people. People like the things they like, but this, like, how artificial and insanely isolating this feels. It feels alienating to me.
I hope that this message was able to remind you of what you already knew, but simply have forgotten.
You're really far away. What?
Now that you have the instructions for this life,
What?
you can tell other people, and together you can enjoy the ride.
What? Oh, sweet. We're getting the bike. All right, that's what I want. I want to ride in the most dangerous way possible. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Teal. All right. That's our exploration into the nightmare psychology of the spiritual teachings of Teal Swan. Teal Swan, everybody. Teal Swan. I feel like Teal Swan should be a character that I like to... The light of the magic of the, anyway, okay. We got a lot of activity in the chat here. Okay, let's see what we got. Let's see. Whoa, you folks are going crazy over here. Thanks for chit-chatting away. Wow, there's so much good stuff. Okay, this is going to take a minute to get through this. Let me see where we are. Well, I'm glad you guys were connecting with each other. Maybe I shouldn't read all of this because this is maybe some private conversation. Wow. Okay, apparently this is a hit as far as people connecting, because there's a lot of people chatting quite a bit. Wow, this goes way back. Okay, dirt bikes make me happy. Okay, so we're going way back. Okay, getting woozy. Those wind chimes. Okay, and this I recognize. Before I came here, my intention was to give Teal Swan all my money. I know. That's what all our super chats go to. All those donations that folks give, and all the getting your name written on the plant. That's the first part. The second part is really what we're going for here. We're going for giving this money to Teal Swan. Lewis says, yeah, my dad is into law of attraction. I've often asked him why starving people are in poverty-stricken countries who are prematurely, are presumably visualizing food all the time aren't getting it. That's a really good answer. I think, I think it is, honestly? I think they don't have Teal Swan. That's really probably what that is. See if your dad, don't mess with your dad. Your dad seems like a nice guy. I know that hella spiritual reverb voice. I love it. She's like, really kicking it with that music. I mean, she should be a DJ. It's really cool. Very cool. Very cool, Teal. Thank you. One of my pet themes is how visually naive the aesthetic of my intelligent and educated seekers in the traditional... sorry, I'm reading this way off. One of my pet themes is how visually naive the aesthetic of many intellect and intelligent. The irony of not being able to read the word intelligent. I'm dyslexic, folks, so just bear with me here. Intelligent, I'm literally dyslexic. It's not like a meme. Many intelligent and educated seekers in the traditions I appreciate. Yeah, I like things much simpler than a lot of this stuff. Lewis says, agreed. You can often tell when an aesthetic is trying to be manipulative in some way. Yeah, it's true. Honestly, if folks have seen our videos, people have accused me of that. And I'm open to that idea. I think what I'm trying to do is use something that's visually fascinating in order to bring people along. Like there's just statistics about what people are willing to look at, what people are not willing to look at, and so I try to stick with that. But yeah, I wonder sometimes if I'm just messing with people. Let's see here. Boring is often better, in some way more authentic. Yeah, I agree. I think that's true. The music is like reality, slow. What is that word? Psytrance? Oh, psytrance. Really slow psytrance. If source consciousness is infinite, how can it expand? That's a great question. It's funny because I think that do we understand that the universe is infinite, but it is also expanding? I guess, is the universe not infinite? I'm not up on the latest on this. That would be a good question. Let's see. And it's also, a lot of these things get solved when you use the word from a perceptual perspective. So all of consciousness is expanding from a perceptual perspective. Problem solved. I'm talking about my own perception, which we can share in, and we can have a kind of universal experience that can be very fundamental, and we can have this sense of empathy because my pain is effectively the same as your pain. And I think that there is ways in which that can be experienced, but doesn't have to exit the realm of reason. Let's see. My charitable view is that people can just be underdeveloped, childish in areas while being sophisticated in others. Yeah, and I think that, I also, it's fun to talk smack, but it's also like, I want to be kind to this person as I do everyone else. And I don't hold her at fault, or the people who like her in any way. And, if people on the internet see this and like Teal Swan, like, I care about you very much, and I care about Teal Swan very much. So it's not a personal offense, the stuff that I'm saying here, by any means. Someone else says, Lewis says, Chuladasa talks about that too. The non-living stuff and the living stuff is the same, but experience from the inside and outside. Interesting. I'd be curious if you have a place with, I don't remember that. So if you have a place where you've seen that, I'd be curious to read that. Something like that. Deb says, inspiring melody to stock video. Yeah, I know. It's like the inspiring world of stock video. I've thought before about, better use than this, but like getting a subscription to one of these stock video places, just because they are actually really useful when you want to be like, if you want to, like, if you have some, like, sometimes you have like a really important spiritual lesson that you're trying to get across, and you're like, what's the right visual? And then you like look and you can't find any images of dirt bikes at all. And you're like, God, I need, like, where are the people on two-wheeled vehicles that I need to get my point across? So maybe that's in the cards for the future. It sort of makes sense if you remove the personal aspect of your happening in my mind. Potentially, yeah. I think that actually might be a way to get through that. Could be a Yoplait commercial. I know exactly. I actually saw a commercial for, maybe we'll watch that next time. It's a commercial for 5 Hour Energy, and up until the point where it actually says the product, it is a great commercial for concentration. It's like, this should be a meditation commercial. That's one of the things actually years ago I saw that, and I was like, we have to make these. We have to make real commercials for like really awesome stuff. TBH, to be honest, I forgot what that was. To be honest, Teal's monist idealism, new thought shtick is an easy target, but there's so many versions of that out there. More critical thinking required. Help. Yeah, I agree. And we're doing this to be light and have fun and that kind of thing. So, I can't say I'm immune to a bit of magical thinking, given meditation's experiences I've had, and we can laugh at this. I have a family who are yogis and buy some of this stuff. I don't attack their positions. I just express my doubt and wait until they're interested to have a discussion. There's a really interesting thing here, which is that sometimes I wonder if, a lot of Hindu folks, this is some of the material that they'll talk about, Deepak, that kind of thing. Sometimes I wonder if they have it right, because in a way it's like feeding people a little of the poison to get them to the other side of the bridge, or get them through the sickness. And I just wonder, maybe that's, I don't know, sometimes I wonder, maybe I should, I'm not really thinking about myself, but sometimes I think that maybe as a structure it works really well, because people seem to really resonate with it. And honestly, I've seen some people who are very, solid, great people resonating with some very weird stuff. So I don't know. Maybe it's not the biggest deal. Ultimately, it's definitely not the biggest deal. Okay. Moving between attention and awareness helps me to find a good working balance between too much or too little effort. Wow, we're getting back to meditation here. John, look at you go. Well done, bringing it full circle back to the practice we just did. Practice question. When doing see out, what would fit into Shinzen's categories of content and contour? That's a very interesting question. Okay. What would be the relationship of and see out of content and contour? It's a very hard thing. Not hard, but it's a unlikely experience. It's not that common to see, really just be able to see visual flow in a really dense and complete way. So what I would say is what it would be is visual flow, would be the more of the contour, and the content is the solid sense of the things around us. But it's a little bit of a trick because part of letting go of the content and moving towards the contour is a degree to which the mind actually lets go. See in will potentially start to let go of see out, and it will begin to pixelate or turn into a field of vibratory sort of light dots, or this pointillist kind of something like this. But that's what I would say. It's a little bit more obscure in see out than any of than the other sense gates that I can think of right now. So yes, that would be my response. Family never had a choice as to all too real difficulties. Yeah, I mean that's the thing it comes back to is do we have a choice? What happens if our life is radically different? And maybe this stuff is really hopeful for people who have less of a choice, who have less privilege. They're like, oh, I could actually break through this if I really apply my effort. And there's this ongoing argument. Is it something where we talk about the circumstances, or is it versus what often ends up being actually strangely more on this is getting into the politics. The left tends to say, hey, look at the circumstances, and the right tends to say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. In other words, like, you should just do it. You should take action. Stop worrying about the circumstances. You're the only one who's going to change your life. Go out there and do it. And anytime there's these kind of really obvious black and white polar relationships between two things, I think it's crazy that people don't immediately zoom out and see, oh, obviously there's probably a common ground here that I'm not seeing, that there's a way in which the two go together. And usually the way in which the two go together are just like, what if we did both? What if we spent half our time really looking at the conditions and the other half the time working our asses off to change our experience of the conditions? Why do we have to actually strangle each other? And it seems like a lot of our polar difficulties or differences in this current environment are people who take one issue and it's like, you want to make orange juice? It's like, I say you got to cut the orange. The other person's like, no, you have to squeeze the orange. It's like, no, cutting is more important. No, squeezing is more important. And it's like, folks, you could just do both. Maybe you have to do both. So I don't know, whatever. So that's my little take for today. Folks, it was super fun hanging out with you here today. Excuse me. We're going to be back here tomorrow, also working on seeing. We're going to transition to mental seeing, see in. And I might actually add one just around awareness and the movement and change and changes in the sort of spatial arrangement of our experience, how we move awareness around. That might be fun. So, Lewis, thank you so much. That's so kind of you for your super chat. I just want to double check that someone didn't give me one earlier. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Triple high fives. Whoopsh, 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 whoopsh. Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate that. Very kind. Hopefully folks had fun today. And we're looking forward to connecting again soon. Let me know if anyone has any questions. If you have other videos that you think we could watch. Because, hey, listen, we can clearly watch some pretty wacky videos. Let's see. Teal's top video, Third Eye Tease. Ooh, maybe that's the one we watch. Third Eye Tease, nice. Okay, so maybe we'll watch that, Bob. Okay, so we want to give a little break on the Teal, though. We want to, as far as what we're manifesting, I'm going to focus more on maybe we'll just watch videos that are dirt bike commercials. Okay, folks, wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, it has been a delight to connect with you, to be with you, and I hope you have a wonderful day starting now. All right, folks, Bye-bye. Have fun. See you soon. Bye. And don't forget, you can still connect in the chat after the stream has ended.